Hello, and now we will proceed to the quarter 2, module number 2. And as you observe, we have the same learning competency, making connections between texts on particular social issues, concerns, or dispositions in real life. So module number 1 and module number 2 are having same learning competency. So kindly open it on page number 3. So what I need to know. So this module encourages you to make connections between texts to particular social issues, concerns, and dispositions in real life. Various activities are provided for you to meet the target skills. At the end of this module, you are expected to differentiate the transitional words used in making connections between texts, compare and contrast information presented in different texts or illustrations, and compare and contrast Filipino family gatherings now and then. So as you can see in what I know, it is like what you were doing before. You will choose the letter of your choice. So we have 15 items. In 1 to 10, you will write the correct letter. If it's letter A, B, C, or D, based on what is asked in each statement or in each number. However, in numbers 11 to 15, you will write if it is true or false. Obviously, if it is correct, you will write true, all capital letters. False if it is incorrect. And going to the next part, it is what's in me before you. Directions: take a look at this image. Get the information presented in the illustration. Express your observation in 2 written sentences. So there should be 2 sentences based on what you can see in the illustration. So there is a woman, maybe, probably thinking, and there are 2 divisions, first division, the second division. You will see, or maybe you will identify what are the differences between those divisions. So you will write it on a separate sheet of paper. So going to the page number 5, what's new? So read the text below. Get the information presented in the text. So the first text will be A Wink of Positivity by Editha Rose G. Nemo, and The Glimmer of Passion by Editha Rose G. Nemo. So we have two texts here, and after reading those 2 texts, we will have the activity which is named as Relate. Direction: write your insights for the following questions. Number 1, what do you think is the message conveyed in the text? A wink of positivity and the glimmer of passion. Remember that even though they are 2 different texts, they have only one author. Number 2, are the texts believable or relatable in real life situations? How do you say so? So if you will think or you will connect if it is really related to what is happening nowadays, then prove it. Number 3, are the texts connected to any current social issues, concerns, or dispositions in real life or in our country? So you will say if it is really connected to any problem that we are facing, maybe individual, as barangay, as town, as a region, or as a whole. Are we alike or are we different? So we have here the Venn diagram. Directions: compare and contrast the information presented in the text that you have read through a Venn diagram. So obviously we have a wink of positivity here in the first circle and the glimmer of passion in the second one. So as you can see, there are two circles, but they have space here. That space here will be used to see what are the similarities they have, while the space here is only for a wink of positivity that a glimmer of passion does not have. And vice versa, the space here will be for the glimmer of passion while a wink of positivity doesn't have. So differences, similarities. So that's the Venn diagram, and I know that you are familiar with Venn diagram. And we will have the comparing and contrasting. How comparing and contrasting help? It helps you to strengthen your memories and develop your higher order thinking skills through analyzing the key points of the text or illustrations. It helps you to enjoy reading while increasing your reading comprehension. It helps you to develop reading habits. So when we say comparing and contrasting, it is thinking deeply, thinking critically, what is the relation and what are the differences and similarities between two objects or between two subjects. Because you will not only read, you will also comprehend. Because if you will not comprehend, how will you evaluate their differences and their similarities? How to compare and contrast different texts or illustrations. Know the things to consider in comparing and contrasting different texts. Know the transitional words you can use in comparing and contrasting. Number 3, read and analyze the text or illustrations to compare and contrast. Number 4, use your prior knowledge or experiences when comparing and contrasting. So when we say prior knowledge, we have here the context clue, which is experience. When we say prior, these were happened last time or the previous moments or previous situations. It happened already. So how will you connect your experiences to or enable to compare and contrast? Because based on your experience, you will also know their differences. If before it is happening, is it happening up until now or not? So that will be one of the realizations that you can have. And we have the illustration here. What to compare and contrast in text? It is very important because if you have the information, your main subject, what should be compared and what should be the text to be evaluated, you will also know the target points to see. For example, you want to know their differences based on the words being used by the author or by the theme. You have your goals. You have your own questions to clarify your thoughts. For example, are they similar in terms of time, in terms of setting? It depends on you. How about comparing and contrasting illustrations? Here, you will identify the details of illustration. Maybe there are lesser or sometimes there are no words that you can see in the illustrations, but still there are differences and similarities. How? Because you have your prior knowledge based on your experiences, based on what happened to your life, based on what you have experienced in your school, at home, in your friends, in your community. What do you think are the differences and the similarities? You can consider the characterization, setting, plot, structure, lesson, and the theme of the text, because these elements of short story or elements of a text, you will identify also how they differ. For example, if the story started by a flashback, by a futuristic, so it depends. So it can be a way of an author to differentiate their text. You can use your prior knowledge or experiences. You can also try to connect text or illustrations in life, so if it is easier to compare and contrast. So we have here the elements. The characterization refers to the way the characters in the story is being described. It answers what are the characteristics of the character. So they can be different in characterization. For example, the protagonist in the first text will be a girl. A girl who is very shy, who is very conservative, while in the text number 2, the character is also a girl but somehow liberated and somehow free. It can be, there is no problem with that, but they are different. So you will see their differences between how they act, how they interact in the story. So you will see also the compare and contrast through characterization. It's very easy, it's very evident. And setting refers to where and when the story happened. It answers where did the story happen, when did the story happen. For example, there you will compare and contrast the setting. If the text number 1 happened in Obando, while the second one outside of the country. So you will see how it affects the whole story setting. Then the third one, plot and structure, refers to the sequence of events in the story. It answers, is the plot believable or relatable to the real life situation? So plot and structure, this is the story or how the story presented. For example, like what I had said a while ago, if the author started by a flashback, if the author started by what is happening in real time, it can be like that. It is depend on how the story is being told and narrated. The fourth one will be the theme. It refers to the subject or the topic of the story. For example, the theme, the text one, for example, Romeo and Juliet. It is a love story. Most probably for other people, it's a love story. And we have text number 2, which is about horror or intense. So they are different. So you will see after reading or after seeing an illustration, you will see if their themes are related or not. But you can also see if it is applicable to real life situations or just an imagination. Then lesson, the message conveyed. It answers what is the message conveyed or imparted. So lesson is very important because it will be the goal that a reader can have after reading the text. So when we say lesson, is the lesson in text A to text B if the lesson in the text A is related, is the same with the text B. So when we say lesson, for example, in text A, it's all about youth, about proper prioritizing of their time, of their allowance at times of pandemic, or if you will relate it to the theme number or the theme of text B, for example, it's all about the proper parenting, about parents. So they are different on having 2 lessons. So lesson number 1 in text A is all about youth, while text letter B is all about parent. So now we will proceed to the transitional words in comparing and contrasting. We are using transitional words to indicate comparison or contrast. Transitional words are used to connect words, phrases, or sentences. Some transitional words are used to indicate similarities and differences when you are comparing and contrasting 2 or more text or illustration. So when we say transitional words, it is not only about comparing and contrasting. We have many transitional words. It can be for cause and effect, to see the reason and the result. We have also transitional words to add information. It can be like that. But for this module, we will focus on compare and contrast to see the similarities and differences. So we have the first column. It is for comparison. You see, comparison use these words to show similarities. We will use these words to see how texts are same with one another. For example, like, in the same manner, to, equally, alike, compared to, similarly, also, both, likewise, the same as well as. For example, the text A as well as text B can be a lesson to all youth, meaning they are the same with the lesson. Or for example, the text A and the text B, the text A, both text A and text B are happened in Italy. So they have the same or similarity in setting. Where did the story happen? And to the second column, we have for contrast. These words will show the differences, how they are different from one another. So we have the words unlike, in contrast, yet, on the other hand, whereas, in spite of, instead, but, however, while, although, though. So we have, for example, text A happened in Obando, unlike text B, where story happened outside our country. So they are different in terms of setting. Another example, text A is all about a girl who is having difficulty in online studying. On the other hand, in text B, there is a boy who is not having any difficulty because he is used in online studying since before. So we have the differences between the character. The first character, the girl, and then the boy. So they are different in terms of gender or in terms of sex. However, they are also different on what they are having or what they are experiencing. The other one, the first one is having difficulty and the second one is not. So we have here many sample sentences using transitional words. The first one will be for comparison, and then the second row will be for contrast. My mom felt the unconditional love from my grandmother. In the same manner, I also felt the love from my mom. In time, the pain will go away. Likewise, I will no longer remember the person. I enjoy fiction stories compared to non-fiction. The second one will be, though many Filipinos lost their job, they had a chance to have more family bonding. Big wedding is dreamt of by many of us. On the other hand, a small wedding is more intimate. Although Filipinos face many challenges in life, we still manage to smile. So here, we can see in the same manner, meaning how grandmother loved her mom, she also felt, or the subject also felt that kind of love from her mom. So the way the grandmother loved her mom also felt because of the love from the mom. Because whatever the mom received, or whatever love the mom received from her grandmother, the mom also gave it to her child. In time, the pain will go away. Likewise, meaning if the pain will go away, no longer to remember the person. So the same thing, the same idea. Pain will go away. The remembrance or the moment or the person will be somehow forgotten also, like the pain. So I enjoy fiction stories compared to non-fiction. So, and we will continue in though many Filipinos lost their jobs. So it is a negative, but they had a chance to have more family bonding. So we have negative idea here, but we have positive, more family bonding. So that is contrasting another way. one positive, one negative. Big wedding is dreamt of by many of us. On the other hand, small wedding is more intimate. So they are different, big and small wedding, but they are both explained. Although Filipinos face many challenges in life, we still manage to smile. So facing many challenges in life, it is negative. We still manage to smile, it is positive. So they are contrast. So that will be the discussion for this module. Compare and contrast. When we say compare, similarities. When we say contrast, it's all about the differences we have or we can observe in texts or in illustrations. Independent activity number 1, we have 2 illustrations here. So directions, analyze the instructions below, then compare the information being illustrated. State your answers in 2 sentences. So as you can see, the first illustration and the second illustration is very obvious, it's very easy. Then independent assessment 1, complete the following statements by choosing correct transitional words used for comparing. When I say comparing, similarities. Choose your answers inside the box. Alike, both, also, the same as, in the same manner, as well as. So you will just write or choose your answers from the words we have inside the box. So you will have those sentences and fill those blanks by these words. Another illustration for independent activity number 2. Tell the difference. Analyze the images below, then contrast the information being illustrated. State your observation in the sentence. So here you will see, when we say compare on the information illustrated, you will have the contrast here. When we say compare, we have compare and contrast. When we say compare, how they are the same with one another in independent activity number 1. What are the things they have in common? While in independent activity number 2, the difference. How they are alike. How they are different. In independent assessment number 2, the contrast, you will now use the contrast transitional devices. On the contrary, but, while, however, although, in contrast. So the same thing here, you will fill the blanks according to what is needed in each statement. If it's on the contrary, but all of the answers will be gotten here inside the box. Independent activity number 3, if in independent activity 1, if it's only compare, activity number 2, only contrast, now we have the both. We have them both. The compare and contrast. Analyze the images below, then compare and contrast the information being illustrated, and then state your answers into sentences. So now we have the similarities and the differences. So also, independent assessment number 3, you will read the two texts here, bahala na and the ant and the grasshopper, and you will identify the similarities and the differences. You can look at characterization, setting, plot, structure, theme, and lesson to compare and contrast. Use appropriate transitional words in stating comparison and contrast. Write your answer in 2 to 3 sentences. So you will see what is the subject, the character, the place, the time. So you will identify how they are the same. Are they having both lesson? Are they having lesson that we can apply at time of pandemic, like that? Then proceeding to what I have learned. So after accomplishing all those different activities, you may now express insights and realizations about the importance of comparing and contrasting the information presented in different texts and illustration. Use the given writing prompt to start your answer. So you will start your own learning presentation of your own learning by this learning material enabled me to, so you will fill it. And then we have what I can do. Compare and contrast the illustration below. Then answer the question, what can you say about the Filipino family gatherings before COVID-19 and at the present time? So, as we can see here, this is the illustration of Filipino family gatherings before COVID-19, and this one at the present time. So you will just compare and contrast their similarities and their contrast. Are they both having enjoyment, and are they similar? Is there any significant difference how they celebrated? So it can be compare and contrast. It is your grandmother's birthday, but you're not able to be with her because of community quarantine. How can you express your love to your family members or relatives afar in this situation? So you will answer that question in a paragraph form. So it can be 3 to 5 sentences also. And then we will end this module by answering the assessment. So same procedure, you will also choose the letter of the correct answer. Then write it on a separate sheet of paper. So it's also 1 to 15. And same thing, 1 to 10 is you will choose if it's letter A, B, C, or D. Then 11 to 15, true or false. True if it's correct, false if it's not. Then additional activities. Cite at least 2 stories that you have read. Compare and contrast the stories through analyzing the attributes of each of them. Copy and answer the table on a separate sheet of paper. So, also, you can also include the movie that you have watched or the text, any story that you have comprehended. And you will differentiate. You will compare them in terms of characterization. Are they the same? How they are different? Setting, place and time, plot and structure, how the story is presented, point of view. When I say point of view, how it is stated. Is it the character himself or herself telling the story, or it is the other people who are telling their story? Again, point of view, is it the main character themselves, or the characters themselves are telling the story, or is it only narrating, or it's only narrated by a particular someone? Then theme, it is the overall how, or is it all about love? Is it all about studying, education, health, or what? So that will be additional activities. Remember, do not forget to answer additional activities, because additional activities are recorded for your performance task. So always do these additional activities, because 40% is for your written outputs, then 60% for your performance task. So do not forget to answer this one. And that will be the end of our module number 2 for quarter 2. So always be safe and follow the protocols for us to effectively and efficiently answer different modules for us to learn more. Goodbye and see you next module.